Why? Yeah. Jeez. Okay. Well, alrighty then. What? Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. Let me take a look at this. Okay. All right. Boy. No, I can't even get it to come up right now. Let's try this.
Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts. The best in live and local talk returns momentarily on the Watchdog.
Hello, everyone, from the Watchdog. I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster with a look at your local weather forecast for your Thursday. Mostly cloudy and cold, a high near 25. The overnight low of 8 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Mostly cloudy for your Friday with temperatures struggling into the low to mid 20s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Conversations you care about with people you know. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe on WKKX and WVLY.
Not a lot of change in the temperature. In fact, no change in the temperature. 23 degrees, Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 22 here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, and 22 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Very frigid day today. We're going to get really no warmer than what we are. Overnight low tonight down to 5. Overnight low tomorrow night, 1, which means we're almost guaranteed the next couple of nights to have negative temperatures in terms of feels like temperature, only in the 20s all week long. Do be aware the National Weather Service wants to remind you that because of the frigid temperatures, because of some snow on the road, freezing rain that had come down, and little patches of ice that were around, there could be more ice out there this morning, and maybe even black ice. So please be careful. It's a drive careful morning this morning. We have a snow day for most of the kids as well. So weather-wise, that is what you have to look forward to. Now, during the break, my wife came to me and said, I can't get you on Facebook. And because my wife is not the most internet savvy all the time, I just said, oh, okay, honey, figuring she'd made some kind of mistake. But I guess it wasn't her mistake. Biff, we've been put in Facebook jail, is that right?
I think we may have. Yeah.
What have we done? What have we done?
Now, I don't know if this was some point yesterday and nobody said anything or it carried over to today, but I was able to get on. I've got like a little shortcut over on the side. You know how you see the shortcuts? It tells you to get to your pages. So I clicked on ours, and when you go on, it's the home page comes up, and yeah, there's something here. It says our page has been unpublished.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see.
Wonder what we've done.
I don't know, but it says whatever recent activity we had, does not follow the Facebook page policies, this is great, regarding impersonation and pretending to be an individual or business.
What?
Yeah.
What did they do? They looked at the video of me and they said, that old man can't be a talk show host. This has got to be an impersonation.
I mean, there's something here that says you can go to the help center on why it happened. Then it says you can disagree with the decision. And then there's a little button here at the bottom. It says appeal.
Yeah, okay.
But
All right, so so bottom line is we're not on Facebook today. If you want to watch the video feed, it is still on our website at watchdognetwork.com, so you can catch that. And I think, let me look here. I think it's on my Facebook page because I shared it to my page. It looks to me like I can see it on my Facebook page. Let me just pull this up here. See if it starts talking at all. I can see it on my Facebook. Yeah, that's me. That's me talking. So apparently, maybe if you want to watch it, it's on my Facebook page. But apparently, we have been caught. We've been caught, Biff, impersonating a person. Or impersonating a business. Maybe they looked at our bottom line and said, no, that's not enough of a business. I don't know what it is.
now see, here's something weird because if I scroll down,
Yeah.
the first hour from today is up there.
Okay. God, so I did something last hour?
No.
Was it when I pretended to be Nigglemeyer the Baloney Man? Did that get us in trouble?
No, I think it's fine, but I don't know.
Anyway, my wife was right. Once again, as I always am doing, I have to apologize to her. I thought, it was probably just she's never always the best in terms of, internet stuff. But turns out she was right. We're not on Facebook. However, if you do want to watch the video feed, you can watch it at watchdognetwork.com. And, of course, it's still, as far as I know, it's also archiving at YouTube, the Watchdog channel on YouTube. So there you go. Where are we going? For those of you who are with us on the air or on TuneIn or on watchdognetwork.com, WVU economist John Deskins told lawmakers yesterday that the Mountain State financial picture is coming back faster than he thought. But Sean O'Leary from the Center on Budget and Policy says the impact on individual residents is not as positive. Sean's in to talk to us about that. The House Education Committee advances a bill to prohibit mask mandates in schools. In only a minute or two, our contributing political analyst Matt Robeson offers his report card on Joe Biden's first year, previews his latest opinion piece in Newsweek. Unsurprisingly, the U.S. Senate failed to pass Biden's voting rights legislation after Joe Manchin went to the floor of the Senate earlier yesterday, repeating that he was not going to agree to revising the filibuster and he was not going to agree to voting for the voting rights bill. And, of course, it's another snow day for students. Overnight snow, frigid temperatures make it a careful on the roads morning this morning. So that's where we've been and where we are going this morning. If you want to join me, 304-214-1600, 304-214-1600. We'll get our capital report coming up a little bit later on. If it was 18 years ago today, I know exactly where I was. 18 years ago today, I was in New Hampshire broadcasting from the New Hampshire primary. And I was reminded of that last night, and I was reminded of how far down our political tolerance, or how far up, I guess, our political tolerance has come since then. The big story when I was broadcasting from the New Hampshire primary 18 years ago today was the leading candidate for the Democratic nomination for president, Howard Dean, did something so terrible, so embarrassing, it was going to derail his entire campaign. It came to be known as the Dean Scream.
And you know something? You know something? Not only are we going to New Hampshire, Tom Harkin, we're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. And we're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
We called it the Dean Scream. And again, I was broadcasting from New Hampshire the morning after that, 18 years ago today, and everybody was talking about the Dean. Oh my God, how can Howard Dean, he can't continue. It was so terrible, so embarrassing. He went, yeah! And that was going to be the end of his career. And I remember interviewing, I think it was his wife at the time, and, you know, I talked about the Dean Scream with her and the big campaign, the Dean Scream. Oh, I can't have. That seems so quaint 18 years after the fact. When you think of the things that are said in campaigns these days, when you think of Donald Trump and the campaign, when you think of Donald Trump and his presidency, when you think of a campaign that ended up with an insurrection of the Capitol killing people, the idea that this was going to derail, and it did, by the way, derail the leading contender's effort because he went, yeah! I mean, it's so pathetic. That's where we were 18 years ago today, though. That's where we were. We were, I screamed, the Dean Scream was going to derail the leading candidate's presidency. Matt Robison, our political analyst, is with us. Matt, former campaign consultant and congressional staffer. Matt, you remember the Dean Scream, I'm sure.
I remember the Dean Scream. I wasn't yet working in New Hampshire and living in New Hampshire, but it was everywhere. You couldn't escape the Dean Scream. Actually, some of the remixes were pretty funny when they kind of made it background and, you know, they kind of turned it into a rap backbeat. I mean, that was funny. What a quaint time we lived in back then. Sort of adorable.
It was so, wasn't it cute that was enough to derail a presidential campaign? Think of what it takes to derail a presidential campaign today.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually, I just did an interview on radio and on the Beyond Politics podcast with Mark Jacob, who is a longtime editor, Chicago Tribune, Chicago Sun-Times, very high-level newspaper editor in America. And, you know, he calls this scandal norming. And he actually thinks it's a strategy. He actually thinks that, he kind of attributes it to Republicans, that they're trying to sort of, you know, the football strategy, flood the zone. You send too many receivers against one defender, and the defender can't keep track of them all. Well, they're sort of trying to flood the zone on scandals. And that's actually kind of happened during the Trump presidency. We cannot, it's beyond our capacity to even remember all of the insanity. And it all begins to kind of look the same. And then you think back, I'm really glad you brought this up, because you think back 18 years ago, and my goodness, yeah, the guy screamed. He was excited. Oh, yeah, terrible.
Yeah, he was going to go on, and, you know, we're going to go on, and we're going to win next time, and the next candidate, the next place, yeah! Which today we all go, yeah, that was pretty, you know, kind of what you expect. Your point about Trump is right. You know, in the early days of Donald Trump, you used to hear the analogy of a fire hose, that there were so many scandals and ridiculous things coming out. It was like a fire hose just shooting all this stuff out, and you can't catch any one of them because the fire hose is just pushing everything out. And I always wondered, get your take on this before we get into the other stuff. I always wondered, you know, where we are in America today, where we are in questioning the very validity of elections, even though they've been verified in every way, manner, shape, or form. It all comes back to, we have in the last 4 years specifically, before that as well, but we have lost belief and respect in institutions, in the press, in politicians, in our electoral system. And Donald Trump is a huge player in that, because he denigrated everything that was standard, norm, and part of America. I've often wondered, was it a game plan, or did it just happen that way? Is it just the way Donald Trump was? And as a result of Donald Trump being Donald Trump, all of these institutions lost their respect and authority. did he plan that, do you think?
I don't think he planned it. I think he's opportunistic, and he actually said this. I mean, with Donald Trump, his id lives on the outside. So, he's basically a walking set of internal desires that he voices out loud. He always says the quiet part out loud, like, hey, Russia, if you're listening, do a crime with me. Hey, Ukraine, do a crime with me. So this is not exactly a master of subtlety. And he said that when he goes to rallies, he just sort of listens to where the applause is. He listens to the audience reaction. And if they're vibing on something that he's saying, he does more of it. And if they're not, he does less of it. And I think that's basically, it's like when they do, have you ever seen in a movie or a TV show, they do dial testing of a focus group? They actually do it on CNN during debates. And, you just see, oh, the audience likes that. Oh, the audience doesn't like that so much. So intentional, that sort of suggests to me that there was a preconceived strategy. I don't think we can quite say that when it comes to Donald Trump. I think that he is very good at reading the room, and he knows. And one of the things about social media, forget just the rallies, one of the things about Twitter, and again, he said this out loud as well, he said it on the record, is he would just send as many provocative tweets as he could, and then if something started to get reaction, he'd do more of it. Sort of like the super disruptive class clown. If he gets a rise out of the teacher, if he gets a rise out of the other students, he's going to do more of it. So, no, I don't think it was all an intentional strategy. I think he just saw that this kind of thing got a reaction, and all he wants is the attention. All he wants is the engagement.
But he has succeeded in creating a great distrust of almost every institution in this country among the people who are following him, which is why we're in the position we are now, where we have huge numbers of the Republican Party at least saying they believe the election was stolen and saying they don't believe basically in democracy and so on. It didn't happen on his first day in office, but it was there by the last day. At least that's my take on it. However, Donald Trump is no longer president. Will he be again? That's an issue for another day. He's no longer president. Joe Biden is president. And we are now at 8:25 in the morning on the Watchdog Morning Show. We are now, this day, 1 year into the Biden presidency. It was a year ago today he took the oath of office. And I've been asking people all week long, Matt, how's he doing? How do you assess this first year in office? We hear an awful lot of negative things, certainly coming from the right, but we also hear a lot of questionable concerns coming from the left as well. So I ask you, sir, how's he doing?
I've been thinking about this a lot. You, off the air, you let me know that you wanted me to appear this morning, and you gave me a hint of what you were thinking about, what you wanted to ask. And so I thought about it. And I thought about it so much that I reached a point where, I'm kind of running down the economy and foreign policy and healthcare, and I'm thinking about what's gone well and what hasn't. And I reached an epiphany, sort of a moment of clarity, which was, I have bought into the wrong question. Not your fault, because everyone's asking this question. It's natural to ask this question. It's an anniversary. How are we doing? You take stock. But I realized that in a way, it's a trap. And you see it in the coverage this morning. You see it in the pundits and the pollsters who come out with verbs, limping, struggling, even, a big poll where the pollsters say, gosh, a lot of voters describe him as failing. My reaction to this is, have you people lost your minds? The only answer to the question, what grade do you give Biden's first year in office, is A+. And any other answer is inherently ludicrous. And I'm happy to tell you why. And I know that this is provocative, and I know that listeners are probably like, well, hold on a second. I think if you really think it through, I feel pretty clear about it, and I've written a whole article. It's on Alternet, Raw Story, the editorial board, fantastic publication, the editorial board. And I feel pretty good about it.
So you are giving. So we've talked to several of our other political reporters this week. One gave him a B minus, one gave him a C minus. I put him in the B category. You're going an A plus for Joe Biden. With all that this happened, you're going with an A plus?
Yes, I'm going with an A plus. And I'll tell you why. If you ever, did you like the show The West Wing?
Love The West Wing. I can quote every episode, chapter, and verse to you.
One of the great episodes involved the idea of when the press asks you a question and you're the press secretary. And we've all kind of, if you're interested in politics, you've always imagined, what would you say if you're up at the podium and the press asks you a question? And the discussion is about, on the episode, is about, well, don't accept the premise of the question. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes the underlying thinking, the question itself is a trap. So I don't think that the premise of the question here is quite right. And I think we've all been kind of suckered into not thinking about it correctly. And actually, you started off this conversation on exactly the right note, which is how much we have had our brains renormed by scandal over the last 18 years since Howard Dean's Scream was, such an outrage back then. I just invite our listeners to go back, think back to where you were mentally. It's really hard, but think back to the second half of 2020. And we are almost 4 years into what I describe in my editorial board alternate article as a water cannon of lies, 30,000 documented lies from Donald Trump, a cabinet full of grifters and thieves. I provide links to everything that I'm saying here so you can do your own research and do your own homework. I've tried to do as much for you as possible. The COVID denial, which we know was totally deadly for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Americans. The child separation policy, the whole Helsinki incident where Donald Trump kind of bent over and licked Vladimir Putin's boots. I'd like you to do us a favor, though, first, abuse of office that led to the first impeachment. Some very fine people on both sides out of Charlottesville. The list of outrages, Amy Siskin's list, the weekly list, where she cataloged every outrage. The fact that he launched the China trade war, which economists estimate cost us 300,000 jobs and $300 billion. The multiple instances of racism. The disaster of the pullout from Syria. The Paris Accord, we pulled out of that. The whole Doha agreement with the Taliban, which that set off what analysts think was the ticking time bomb in Afghanistan and was largely responsible for many of the problems we saw there when President Biden tried to pull out. Let's not forget the tsunami of Republican federal judges, the whole RBG, McConnell, Barrett swindle, the big lie, the way we ended up with an armed coup attempt, and ultimately the second impeachment. I'm not even going to try and make listeners go through the exercise of what would the world look like now if we were living in a second Trump term, but I do that in the article, and I invite them to check it out. My point is, this leads me back to the analysts, the pundits, who are saying, oh, Biden is limping, he's struggling. Or, these people are kidding, right? Do not accept the premise here. Joe Biden could be doing literally nothing. He could be sitting around his office all day. He has saved us. We have saved ourselves because we're a democracy. We made this decision. We voted him in. By voting in Joe Biden, we have saved ourselves from going off a cliff. And that in itself is deserving of an A+. Everything else is gravy.
And that's an interesting approach. I certainly agree that with all of the Donald Trump comments you make, and if you draw the comparison, there is no comparison. I would not disagree with that. Although I want to go back to a comment. Well, I tell you what, Matt, I'm going to do a radio thing here because I want to continue this conversation. So I'm going to take a break if you don't mind, and you just hang in there for a minute or two. Biffy, let's get a news update in here because it's news time anyways, and we'll get the Mountaineer Report. And then I want to continue this conversation, but there are two national commentators who made an impression on me this week and things they said. I want to share what I think about those and get you to react to that as we continue talking about Joe Biden 1 year later. And I want you to tell me how you can possibly, when we come back, how can you possibly look at the rights failure yesterday and still say that Joe Biden has an A+. But we'll get into all of that coming up in just a minute. 8:32, 28 till the hour. It's the Watchdog Morning Show. Our political analyst, Matt Robeson, is here. We'll continue the conversation after we check into the newsroom of the Big Seven.
Now it's time for your local news headlines.
Biff, let's just do news and Mountaineer here, and then I'll get back to Matt. And I'll take another break.
And pick and pack every blue, raz, and strawberry in your free pickup order with the utmost care. Because we believe in treating your food the same way we'd want ours to be treated. It's the golden rule, only for like fresh fruit and stuff. Order now using the mobile app. We're fresh every day, so shop anyway. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply. 42 million Americans struggle with hunger, yet 35% of the food in this country is wasted. Those aren't just numbers, they're our neighbors, your daughter's friend from school, the family of 4 next door. The Kroger Company's Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation is committed to making fresh food accessible to all by ensuring it never goes to waste. Together, we can help end hunger. Learn more at zerohunger.zerowastefoundation.org.
Newly named WVU offensive coordinator Graham Harrell has started his evaluation of the unit that he's inherited. In his first interview since taking the job, Harrell told MSN's Dan Zangrilli that his background, which included a stint playing behind Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers, gave him some valuable insight into offensive success.
The detail of things is extremely important, and that's what I think from the NFL or from my time at Green Bay that I saw more than anything, that even the most talented dude I've ever been around was crazy about, hey, making sure my drop works, making sure this route's right, making sure that everything lines up the way it's supposed to line up. Obviously, I took, there's some things schematically that we did that I really liked, that I thought fit into what I believe in and kind of fit into this offense. And we've taken that with us and added that kind of to what we do. But more than anything, like I said, just the preparation and the detail that came from Green Bay was really impressive to see.
As for next season's WVU offense, what will it look like? Well, Harrell says it's a work in progress, but one hint may be that less is more.
Hey, we got to have an identity, and we got to figure out who we are and get really good at who we are, but we can't do everything. And I think that a lot of times in offensive football, you see this play, you see that play, and it's like, man, that's a good play, and that's a good play. Well, there's hundreds of great plays out there, but you don't have time to get good at hundreds of plays. I think you can get good at a handful of plays, and I think that has to fit your personnel. I think that if you look at even myself from year to year, a lot of times we look a lot different because that's what our roster dictates a little bit. That's what our personnel dictates.
You can hear the complete Graham Harrell interview on the Mountaineer Insider podcast with Dan Zangrilli. It's available at WVUsports.com or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield.
Follow us on Facebook for the latest news, show updates, podcasts, alerts, and live video streams from the Valley's only network dedicated to local, community-driven talk radio, The Watchdog.
Miss a part of the show? Want to hear a segment again? Check out our podcast page at watchdognetwork.com. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
You can check out those morning show rewinds at the podcast page at watchdognetwork.com. Also on Apple Podcasts, if you would like to. Post them also on our Twitter pages and Facebook pages. Well, if Facebook doesn't publish us for some reason, or apparently we're in Facebook jail today for reasons I don't understand. But at any rate, different ways to catch the morning show rewinds on normally on Facebook or on Twitter, my page, the Watchdogs page, also on watchdognetwork.com, and also on Apple Podcasts. Check them all out. I put a couple of new ones up this week. So the interview, it was a really good interview with Marjorie Margolis, I think, the former congresswoman. We had her on, talked a bit earlier this week. I put that back up. I put that up yesterday, and a couple of the statewide interviews as well. We are right now talking about Joe Biden's one-year anniversary. It was a year ago today that he took the oath of office, and so I've been asking some of our various political analysts to tell us what is his report card in their mind. Matt Robeson is with us, and Matt says he's giving Biden an A+. But it's primarily, you're suggesting, Matt, because the comparison with Donald Trump is so dramatic that how can you do anything other than A+? That's sort of your working theme there, am I right?
That's basically right. I'm saying that a year ago we were all trapped in a flaming car speeding to the edge of a cliff, and Joe Biden sprayed us with a fire extinguisher and slammed on the brakes. So I'm not sure that the next logical question we should be asking is, but isn't his driving a little slow today? I think that we set out to do something, which was to save America. We did it. And any conversation that doesn't start with, you know what, we pulled that off, we literally saved the country, is really missing the point. I'm happy to thereafter engage in the, all right, we acknowledge that, and he gets the A+, but let's dig in a little bit in kind of a more traditional but in a mature way. I'm willing to do that, although that's full of trapdoors too.
All right, so he gets an A+, and I guess I can't disagree. He gets an A+ simply for being the president and not Donald Trump being the president. But it does seem to me as if Biden himself and the Democrats surrounding him have set up some additional standards they wanted to accomplish. They have set up for themselves some other markers, which leads me to one of the comments I mentioned I liked this week. Mitt Romney said this week that he thinks what the Democrats have forgotten and what Biden has forgotten is that Biden was elected to, and I love this phrase, he was elected to stop the crazy. He wasn't really elected to transform America, to deal with voting rights, or to make us a more climate better country and so on. He was basically, and he's right, he was basically elected to stop the crazy. And that's what makes him a good president, which I think is what you're referencing. But then we have to ask ourselves, but what, God, it's the old phrase, Matt, what's he done for us lately? Okay, he stopped the crazy. Now what? What's he done for us while he's been in office? And maybe nothing is a better example than just yesterday when he and the Senate Democrats failed to revise the filibuster and failed to pass this key voting legislation that they've set up as a major standard for their success.
I think we're all in danger when we engage in this, whether we're coming at it from the right or the left, of falling into the, but what about her emails trap, which is to say, we sort of yada, 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 the big good stuff and get to the, yeah, but what about, so let's break it down for just a second. And I think, it's totally legitimate to talk about, hey, we didn't get the voting rights stuff done. That's a very particular case to talk about. But I think the biggest example of this is probably the economy, right? So here's a situation where, I know there's you can parse these numbers lots of different ways, but Joe Biden, in his first year in office, created the most jobs in history, over 6 million jobs. And consumer confidence is now high and rising. Most economists agree that the economy is doing much better today than a year ago and much better than they expected. And what you hear is, okay, but inflation, but there's inflation. Yes, inflation's been high and it's lingered longer than expected. But clearly, most things have gone really well in the economy. A few things have gone poorly. That's not like a bad economic record. That's not a sign that no one's hand is on the tiller. This is a strong economic record, and we're getting her emails, but inflation. Inflation is a big deal. Voters have every right to feel anxious, upset, and irritated about it, but we end up talking about the but part. We don't talk about the big headline story here. And what you need to do in the current media environment is, and this goes back to my Mark Jacob interview on Beyond Politics, former editor, Chicago Sun-Times, Chicago Tribune, some of the biggest newspapers in America. His point is that nowadays, editors have to apply a truth sandwich to everything. You have to start out by giving the non-distortion up front. The economy is mostly positive. Most signs are positive. Most consumers agree that it's positive. There is one glaring problem going on right now that you sandwich in the middle, and then you finish with, but economists do feel like prospects ahead are good as well. So that's my take about most of the things that we could talk about. We could talk very specifically about the failure of the voting legislation, but I think that kind of thinking can and should be applied to all of these buts that you hear about the performance of the Biden administration.
But why is his opinion, why are his popularity ratings so low? He's among the lowest president at this time in their presidency of anybody. Why is the public perceiving him so badly if you think he's an A-plus president?
That's a great question. And I think that we're all in danger of being hornswoggled by this idea that, it's the voters who say that he should get a failing grade, or the voters who are giving him a low approval rating. Giant flaw here, giant flaw. First of all, if you look at recent polling, so for example, Politico and Morning Consult do a poll, and they ask the approval question in the form of grades. And you find the headline here, 37% of voters are giving Biden a failing grade. Wow, that's a lot. Well, not really, because most of those, if you look down into the numbers, most of those people are Republicans. And we're in the most polarized time in American history, certainly in living memory. And yes, Republicans hate Joe Biden. Well, duh. Man bites dog. We know that story. And so to see a reflection of, there is an absolute ceiling on how high his approval can go, because you're going to start out with 90% of Republicans saying that they absolutely hate the man. That's not that surprising a finding. The other problem with approval ratings is that they are and I think we've talked about this on this show before with some of the problems and misunderstandings about public opinion research. Approval ratings are a very, very blunt tool for understanding what people think about presidents or about politics. Any pollster worth their salt will tell you that that's not a serious assessment of an elected leader's performance. It's a mirror. What voters hear when you ask, do you approve or disapprove of Joe Biden? What voters hear in the poll is, are you happy or unhappy right now? And with high prices and the Omicron wave, voters are understandably very unhappy right now. I'm I'm not that thrilled with how things are going either. And so the tool that voters have for voicing that unhappiness right now is to tell pollsters, I disapprove. I'm unhappy. And they give low grades and low approval. So it's not really the right instrument to measure, has the president performed well, especially when you consider the context that he is going to start out with about 40% of the American public saying they disapprove of him no matter what.
Well, there are public expectations that I think sometimes, I'm thinking about the president's press conference yesterday, 2 hours or so, answered all questions, did it well, didn't come across as feeble, senile, anything. And the fact that I'm saying that is making my point. At the end, many of the commentators were, well, he made it through 2 full hours and didn't seem to be failing and didn't seem to be running out of steam and seemed like he was intellectually alert. The simple fact that he made it through somehow became the news. Well, look at this. He made it through a press conference. Because the expectations of him are so low because of, I don't know what, because of where the media is and so on. I mentioned Mitt Romney earlier, and I've been quoting him. By the way, I do not agree with the conclusions Mitt Romney drew after he began with the Stop the Crazy line, but I like that Biden was elected to stop the crazy, not to make any big transformational change. He was elected to stop the crazy. The other commentator, Matt, that I've been quoting this week is James Carville, who 18 years ago in New Hampshire I interviewed, as a matter of fact, when I was in New Hampshire. James Carville is saying Democrats need to stop being, and I quote him, the whiny party. Stop complaining all the time. Stop talking about the things they haven't done and start talking about the things that they have done. Get out there and fight and tell people what you did, not worry about what you haven't gotten done. Would you concur with that?
Oh, 100%. And it goes exactly to this point. I mean, for Pete's sakes here, the Democrats and Joe Biden have passed the biggest and most meaningful legislation in Joe Biden's first year in living memory. I mean, I can't underscore this enough. We are talking about the American Rescue Plan and the infrastructure bill, which has led directly to these truly historic economic gains that we're seeing, lifting 3 million American children out of poverty. You know what a scandal it is that there are 11 million American children in poverty? And you know what being in poverty means? Get how low the poverty line is? And we've lifted 3 million children out of poverty. And we finally invested in, infrastructure. When I was a congressional staffer, I used to staff the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. We were 15 and 20 years ago, those of us who were experts in that area were screaming about how dilapidated our nation's infrastructure was and how important it is to our economy and our way of life. And we finally got it done. We've gotten all of these things done. By the way, the most judges appointed since the Ronald Reagan administration reversed the assault on the environment at the agency level, which has done more for the environment than any single piece of legislation in living memory, although the infrastructure bill did a good start, ended the European trade war, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yes, James Carville is totally right. I think it is true that Biden and the Democrats are guilty of overpromising and under-delivering. You want to reverse that. You always want to reverse that if you can, and they set high expectations. I do think in the case of the voting rights bills, that was a little bit of a gambit, and I want to credit the writer Jonathan Chait in New York Magazine for pointing this out. One of the things you see with voter suppression tactics from these Republican state laws that they've been enacting is that at the end of the day, they usually don't succeed in lowering voter turnout. Why? Because Democrats are able to successfully use them as a motivating factor to get voters to turn out. Republicans do something to take away people's rights. People react angrily and with more enthusiasm to vote. They show up, and it makes up for the difference. So to some degree, yes, of course it's bad that they failed to overcome the filibuster and pass those bills, but it also is probably tactical. It's probably intentional. They're trying to give themselves a cause to run on. They're trying to give their voters something to motivate them in 2022, and that may be worth it.
Matt, I got to call it there. So you're giving the president an A+ on his 1 year in office, and you've given us some things to think about. I appreciate that. It is always good talking to you. We took some extra time today, which I like because I felt like we got a lot of good conversation going. Appreciate it. By the way, I got a text here. I just want you to see it. Matt Robeson is absolutely right. That's the text I got off my text line this morning. So
thank you. Oh, I want to.
Somebody thinks you're on target at least.
This morning.
I was going to say, is that your wife? Is that your wife sending that in?
Thank you to your listener. I appreciate it.
I don't know about your wife. That would not be my wife. She would not. My wife would be saying, Howard, I think you made a mistake there. But that's a whole different story. Matt, good talking to you. I appreciate it. Have yourself a great day. We will reconvene in a week or so and talk some more about the wonderful world of politics. People can find some of your writings in Newsweek. I think you've got a new Newsweek piece up, yes? I do. I have a new piece in Newsweek. Just Google it, Matt Robeson, Newsweek. And the hint is we're actually able to win this voting rights war if you look to the states. So check it out. All right. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Matt Robeson, one of our political analysts, our contributing political analyst, and he is a former campaign consultant, former congressional staffer. He's a podcaster. He is a talk show host, and he's with us on a frequent basis. 6 before the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Let's take care of some business as the Watchdog Morning Show continues on a Thursday.
New Belgium Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available in West Virginia and distributed locally.
McIntyre and Associates at 304-232-8600. Allow us to help put you back on the road to financial success.
Millions plan for retirement online. Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
The new year is here, and so are the new Toyotas. So visit your dealer and reserve yours today. Like the all-new Tundra, redesigned from the ground up and engineered for uncompromising power. Or explore the brand new Corolla Cross with available all-wheel drive and more cargo room than ever. Visit your Toyota dealer today or go online to buyatoyota.com, the official website for deals. Hurry, offers end January 31st. Toyota, let's go places.
SportsMap Radio is on all night long. Tune in to get up-to-the-minute sports coverage on FM 98.1, AM 1600. We are the Watchdog.
Live and local for the Ohio Valley, the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
If you're missing football on Thursdays, you can still turn every Thursday into a payday with the NBA on TNT on FanDuel Sportsbook. As always with FanDuel, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, they've got ways for you to get money anyway. FanDuel is giving all customers $10 back every Thursday. You just bet $10 or more on a same-game parlay on any NBA on TNT game, and you'll get $10 back. Same-game parlays let you combine the money line, point spread, player props, whatever, all into one single wager. They're all different kinds of options for you. You'll find them when you go to FanDuel. And it's the perfect way, the same-game parlay is a perfect way to turn a small bet into a big-time score. And win or lose, you're guaranteed to get $10 added to your account. So that's a pretty good deal. Get $10 back every Thursday, win or lose, with NBA on TNT on Thursdays. If you're new to FanDuel, just sign up with my name, Monroe, in the promo code box. That way you get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Make every moment more this NBA season. Promo code Monroe, exclusively on the FanDuel Sports app. As always, a reminder, you must be 21 years of age or older. You must be physically present in West Virginia. The bonus is issued as a non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. The maximum bonus, $10. Some restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, don't download FanDuel, but rather call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. FanDuel Sportsbook, more ways to win. The Capitol Report and a look at bouncing back from the pandemic in West Virginia coming up in the next hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. It's just about 9 o'clock, and ABC covers the world right now.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
All right, Biffy, I'll be back in a minute. If I can get another Dr. Pepper, I'll be back.